Happy NHL March Madness. Well, March and April Madness. It's kind of a different uh, season this year. Usually, the month of March is the last full month of the regular season, and it's only technically true this year. That's only because this season ends on April 29th. If it ends on April 30th, it'll be a whole other story. It'll be 2 full months. But nevertheless, it's we are beginning the last 60 days of the regular season. We've made it to the month of March, which remains a very pivotal month of the season, and it's going to get interesting from this point on. Um, everything's going to be all important, all pivotal. The playoff races will get tighter until the Sweet 16 is decided. And here's how things look entering this year's March Madness. I do love the month of March. Um, in the Atlantic Division, it's a close race. Uh, it's the Panthers, Lightning, and Maple Leafs as the top three. Florida leads the division as they have been for pretty much for most of the season with 75 points, but the Lightning and Leafs are right behind with 74. Both teams 1 point out. Tampa is the second place team because they have 2 games ahead over Toronto. Uh, Interestingly, Tampa Bay has the best last 10 record out of three. 7-2 won their last 10, including winners of 4 straight. Florida has lost 3 in a row. Yeah, they've been kind of going down a bit. Of course, Toronto's 5-4-1 in their last 10, but they've won the last three, including that crazy 10-7 game against Detroit. My goodness. Um, so yeah, it's pretty tight in the Atlantic. The Metropolitan, the Carolina Hurricanes, they actually have the East's best record. They surpassed the somewhat slumping Florida Panthers. Carolina leads the way with 78 points. Pittsburgh's right behind at 74. And the Rangers, who are also dipping a bit, have 71. Uh, Carolina has the best last 10. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10, including winners of 5 straight. So, yeah, there's that. Uh, the Rangers have lost back-to-back games. They were shut out in Pittsburgh first meeting of the season between the Rangers and Penguins. They were shut out 1-0, and they lost at home to the Vancouver Canucks. That's not good. Um, the Rangers have been one of the stories this year. They're resurging. They're not only in a playoff position, they're in the top three, which is like a good position. And Pittsburgh and Rangers have 3 meetings left with each other, and the way it stands now, we could see them play at least at the most 7 more times. So there's that. And in the wild card race to the East is pretty much done. Uh, the Bruins and Capitals hold those 2 spots, and by a lot. Boston's 68 points, Washington's 65. Close behind them, I use that term loosely, close behind them is Columbus with 55. Yes, they are a whopping 10 points, 10 behind Washington in the wild card standings, and they're the first team behind the playoff line. Um, Boston is 6-3-1 in their last 10, including winning 5 in a row, most recently a 7-0 drubbing in LA over the Kings. Washington is 4-6 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row, and they have problems. They have big time problems. They need to get that all straightened out. Um, so that's the story in the East. The West, leading the Central Division as far as the entire NHL. Boom, Colorado Avalanche with 82 points. That's right. We became the first team to clinch at least a 500 record. 82 points is 500. One more, and it's a winning record. 82 points, which is 4 more than the next team behind us in the entire league, and that's Carolina. Um, but as far as the West, we have a very strong stranglehold over the Western Conference. Are ahead. We're ahead of the other division leader by 14 points. But as far as the division, we're up by 12 over the St. Louis Blues, who have 70, and the Minnesota Wild have 65 points. Now, despite the disparity in the Central Division standings, Colorado and St. Louis had the same stellar, uh, last 10 records. 7-2-1 in their last 10. Avs have won 3 in a row. Blues have won 4 straight. Minnesota has been kind of slumping a bit. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and they have lost 3 straight. In the Pacific, the Flames are in first place, which comes with a 10-game winning streak, which did recently end. They've won 11 out of 10. 11 out of 12, and of course their last 10 is 9-1. Second place, right behind the Flames, the Kings. The Los Angeles Kings have been on a winning tear lately. They won 7 out of their last 10. Now, they did get blasted in the last game, but still, they're in second place in the Pacific with 65 points. They kind of have a good chance to move to first, but Calgary has 3 games in hand over them. Vegas rounds up the top 3, and they are in trouble. 4-5-1 their last 10. They have 62 points. They're 3 points behind LA. Vegas could be in serious trouble. They could be in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. They've dealt with a few injuries, but they just have been playing well. Playing it simple. As far as the wild card in the West, it's the Predators and the Stars hold the spots. Predators at 64 points, Dallas at 61. Edmonton also has 61, but Dallas' game in hand puts them ahead of the Oilers. Oilers, they are a mess. Now, they continue to be a mess, and it's ridiculous. It's still the Connor and Leon show. If those two don't produce any points, they don't win. They need to get out of there. Edmonton's in big time danger. Last year, Edmonton won 0 playoff games. This year, they might play in 0 playoff games. If that happens, Connor needs to get out, take Leon with him. Now, unlike the East, the West wildcard race is pretty stacked. The Ducks are close behind, 2 points out, but they played too many games. They need to win what few games they have left, because too many teams have games in hand over them. I could say the same technically goes for Vancouver, but Vancouver had to go on a big tear, had to tear it down and go on a big tear just to get this close. So they kind of get a pass, but the Ducks, they need to get going. Winnipeg does too. Winnipeg's in the race too, but they've been too up and down for my liking. The game against Colorado proven. How do you go up 3-0 and then still lose by 3? That just doesn't happen. And San Jose's close behind, but who knows where they're going to go. Really, the only 3 teams in the West who are out of it as far as the playoffs, the Blackhawks, the expansion Kraken, and the Coyotes. That's it. So yeah, that's the story so far in the NHL entering the final 60 days of the regular season. Now, of course, here's how this is going to go. Now, this is unlike the past March Madness in the March Madness is the NHL because again, the season ends about a few weeks later than it usually does. Usually, the NHL's regular season ends around the second week of, usually the first or second week of April. Usually around April. Let me put it this way: the date in the month of April that the season ends usually has 1 digit in it. So this usually begins the last 30 plus days of the regular season, 35 to 40. It's 60 days left. That's more leeway. That's a bit more time. But even so, it's the home stretch. So here's how this is going to go. Each of the next, I think it's every Sunday, I will recap the previous week that was on YouTube, and I will post videos congratulating any teams who make the playoffs. I'll do the same thing I did last year, which is play the goal horn of the respective teams until all 16 make it. And of course, the season ends on a Friday, April 29th falls to Friday, so once once those final games end there, I will recap everything and get you ready for the playoffs. That's how that'll go on the evening of April 29th. But I will be back on YouTube to recap everything from this week on Sunday. Every Sunday will be a recap up until the end of the season. So it's going to be a fun ride. This has been a very interesting season. Um, Especially with the postponed games being played in the Olympic break. That's been interesting too. So so I'll be back this upcoming Sunday, March 6th, to recap everything that's happened and uh, and describe the updated picture with a lot of time left. 60 days. It's gonna be a hell of a sprint. It's gonna be a fun ride, and I will recap it every week. So, oh, before I forget, if you like this video, click the like button, click subscribe if you want more. In the description below will be my story on Vocal about the Maple Leafs, which just got published on the site today. So check that out when you can. And again, I'll be back this Sunday to recap the week that was. So stay tuned.